The rivalry game between Tennessee and Florida doesn't have the same excitement that it once did, but it's still a game that's very intriguing. I think that these are two teams that are looking to take steps forward at various different aspects of their seasons and at various different levels. But I think that this is still a rivalry game that could be tight. The beauty of rivalry games is that you don't really know who's going to come out on top or by how much because we play the games differently. It feels like the energy is different for both teams. The experts that think have it all figured out don't necessarily know anything. And when you have a team like Tennessee that struggled a little bit against Austin P last week, that makes things a little bit more interesting. You almost create a little bit more buzz on the Florida side because they think, well, if Austin P can do this, we can do this. If Austin P can keep this game close, we're more talented than that team, so we can do the same thing. So that's going to be interesting. To me, it's coming down to a quarterback matchup that a lot of people expect to go one way, but we'll talk about both guys and what they need to do. Joe Milton, obviously, has a cannon for an arm. He is one of the more intriguing quarterbacks in college football. We just need to see him be consistent, and we just need to see him take his game to another level. I think Joe Milton has the potential to be a great quarterback. We just need to see the details. We just need to see the consistency from him. And this is his first rivalry test for Tennessee. 429 yards so far, 4 touchdowns. Haven't really seen the need for him to be an impact player for longer than 2 or 3 quarters. That might change this week. Question for the other side for Florida is, can you slow down Tennessee's offense? Because when you look at what Tennessee does well is they move the ball quickly and efficiently, and they want to do that. This is an offense that is averaging nearly 480 yards of total offense going against a Florida defense that hasn't faced a ton of explosive offenses, so they haven't really been tested, but it's still a group that's not limiting. They are limiting teams to not much yardage. So that's a interesting matchup. I think it's what style wins that determines this game because Florida cannot compete in a shootout. They cannot match Tennessee score for score. They simply cannot. They have good playmakers. They're just not in it for a shootout. They are not in it for a barn burner. And you almost have to be efficient and slow things down if you're the Gators. And Tennessee wants to get this pace as fast as possible. Honestly, they want their offense to get the field off the field as quickly as possible. It's just they hope that they're scoring 7 and not 0. They want to score at a blistering pace. They want to pick up the pace. They want to put stress on the other team to get the game going and get it to a speed at which they are comfortable. And right now, lightning fast is the only speed that they want to go. Florida just doesn't want to get in that kind of a game. Now, Florida has some playmakers that can get explosive plays. It's just a matter of getting them involved. I think right now, Montreal Johnson, Trevor Etienne, and Ricky Pearsall are 3 of the best players that you probably don't know because Florida hasn't had a ton of explosive opportunities for them. And this offense appears to be figuring some things out. The offensive line might need a little bit of time to get things figured out. And when you're looking at this Tennessee defense, they're not as good as the Tennessee offense, but they have a number of players that will make the game miserable, I should say, for Florida's offense. The offensive line had a ton of troubles with Utah's defense, and Tennessee has the talent to repeat what Utah did to this group. So if you're able to give Graham Mertz time, if you're able to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers in space or open running lanes for them, then I think this game slows down and makes things interesting. So that'll be the biggest thing. Stopping the run. Both teams right now appear to be really good at stopping the run. Again, 2 game sample size. You can't exactly make a ton of assumptions from them, but so far both teams are holding their opposition to under 100 yards rushing. Tennessee is really good at running the ball right now. Florida has 2 playmakers in Johnson and Etienne that honestly could do the same. So, which group has the better performance? Which group is able to do more damage to the opposition and slow them down? That will dictate the pace, first of all, but it'll also determine which group is able to move the football down the field a little bit better. If you're able to run the football, everybody knows you are able to throw the football better. You're able to find more space for your playmakers. And from there, it's honestly, it makes life so much easier for everybody involved because you look at what Joe Milton needs. He needs that comfort right now. I think that he is not someone that can step up right away and be a star. He needs to get in some sort of rhythm. He needs to get some momentum. And then from there take some shots because it doesn't matter how far he can throw the ball if he can't throw with touch. It doesn't matter if he can throw the ball 90 yards if he can't throw it 10 to 12. And if Florida's defense will give him a ton of different looks to make life difficult for him, and they will force him to make some intermediate throws with touch. He has to find a way to do that, not just to win this game, but if he wants to play in the NFL. He's not going to be able to just laser everything in there. He's got to have something to go with his fastball. And this is a good opportunity for him to show that. On the other side, Graham Mertz had his best game of his career against Utah, but it was out of almost desperation than really anything because Florida could not move the ball very efficiently. And towards the end, they needed to pass more than they needed to run. And Graham Mertz just kind of padded his stats. But now here's an opportunity against an SEC opponent to showcase that you're not just looking to pad stats, you can make an impact. And like I said, there are playmakers to be utilized. Ricky Pearsall is one of those. I think Ricky Pearsall is one of the more exciting players that a lot of people don't talk about. And it's because he's on an offense that struggles to get him the football. And when you do get him the football, he's an explosive weapon, a reliable pass catcher, and it's just a matter of how does Graham Mertz find him downfield. And there's so many players that you can watch. We talked about the running backs for Florida, Johnson and Etienne. Those are two players you can watch. All eyes are honestly going to be on Joe Milton. It's, when you're talking about Tennessee, until he either does something or if there's a quarterback controversy, Joe Milton will be under the spotlight for most of the season, if not all of it, because people want to see, can he be a good college football quarterback? Can he improve his draft stock to where someone's going to take him in the first round? We all have seen certain players that fit his description. A lot of people saw what Anthony Richardson did for Florida last year. And if Joe Milton can find a way to put it all together, you're looking at a guy that's a top 10 pick, someone who is definitely going to get recognition. It's just a matter of how high does his stock rise. He is in charge of that, and he faces a good Florida defense that can slow in terms of, I should say, good Florida defense statistically. But again, 2 game sample size. We don't really know a ton about these teams. So we'll see. Is this Florida defense actually legit, or are they going to struggle with this Tennessee offense? Tennessee will put a lot of pressure on teams in terms of picking up the pace, using tempo, and taking a ton of deep shots to just wear that defense out. So that's the biggest thing there. Graham Mertz is the X factor in this game, how he plays. Honestly, you could probably put the offensive line for Florida too. That's the biggest thing is being able to move the ball down the field. If you can't protect Graham Mertz and if Graham Mertz can't make throws, it's going to be a long day for Florida, and Tennessee will run away with it at that point. I think a player that people sleep on because of the passing attack for Tennessee is Jalen Wright. That rushing attack, Jalen Wright and Jabari Small are two of probably the most underrated running backs just because their offense features so many other playmakers that deserve to be in the spotlight. And throwing the football is what Josh Heupel likes to do, but they also have a really good rushing attack. So far, they're one of the better rushing attacks in college football, and it's because they have Wright and Small back. The defense also has some playmakers that you need to watch. Tyler Barron is already off to a good start, which didn't really surprise me. I thought that he could be a potential good player for this team, and so far he is proving to be that guy. So right now, Tennessee is the pick here in terms of who's going to win this game. I think that there's plenty of storylines to pay attention to for both sides. There are still plenty of concerns for both sides. And Tennessee gets a chance to make a statement. Florida could do the same. It's just a matter of, is Tennessee able to move the football? Do they continue to play at that blistering pace? Or can Florida slow things down and keep it close?